After the conclusion of last week's electrifying round at Tsukuba, the teams and media turned their attention to the fourth round on the Super GT calendar. Camino Viejo de Montserrat is the venue. The SEAT Reto de Camino is the event. Stay tuned for recaps, predictions, and league news. It's the Formula Forza Pre-Race Podcast by JET Motorsport.
Hello, and I'm your host, Derek James, gamertag Magnum278, and I am joined, as always, by your intro man, Mr. Ryan McDowell, gamertag Cypher68, and my brother Brad, gamertag WennaJ.
Yay!
We are moving right into our Tsukuba recap. Brad, could you give us the qualifying?
Of course I will, as usual. FMS Senna acquired pole with a 54.994. Less than a tenth behind was XPR Moon Tower in second with a 52.039. In third was a Subway Cookie with a 52.532, nearly 5 tenths back. In fourth was Bloody Kane with the 52.558, and in fifth was FW Macedon, first time into Group A with a 52.628. Moving on to GT 300 in Lobby A, Alex P. with his first race for LCR gained pole with a 58.250. 2 tenths back from him was the usual pole winner in Flames. In third was ZX Squid with a 58.512. Fourth, Johnny Two Shoes with a 58.714. And fifth, BTR McNish with a 58.770.
All right, well, let's talk about that qualifying real quick before we move on at all. FMS Senna, that was a hell of a battle. I don't know if everybody was watching that as it unfolded, but there was a period there where XPR Moon Tower actually had pole by all of something like 6 thousandths of a second or something like that, and it was just crazy to see that happen. I know Senna was really pushing for everything he could possibly give it, and it was just great to see XPR Moon Tower right up there. And then FMS Senna with, on the final day, Q3, did end up going a 51, the only driver to get into the 51s. But still, we're talking well less than a tenth to XPR Moon Tower in second. In the GT300s, he already told you that Alex P. got the pole, but that was a shocker. For the longest time, he was sitting in 8th in the GT300 grid, until and Flames was on pole, and a similar story right on the last day. Alex P comes in, I believe, with something like an hour or maybe 30 minutes to go. He goes straight to pole with a 58. Let me see here, a 58.250. So 2 full tenths ahead of In Flames. I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot of time, but for these cars, that is kind of a pretty big gap there. I mean, you look at the gap between In Flames and ZX Squid, and you're only talking about half a tenth between those two. Johnny Two Shoes just, I guess he is another 2 tenths back, but then you're still talking, after that, McNish, less than a tenth back, half a tenth there. So really small margins here, but then Alex P, 2 tenths ahead, claiming pole the first for LCR, and that's really big news for them. What do you guys think about qualifying? Did you guys watch that at all?
Brad and I, we were busy most of the week, but we did pay attention late into Saturday. From what we had heard, we were kind of slightly paying attention to the GT500 battle because of our driver Mitchell. So, Brad, what did you think?
I was actually in the lobby where Mitchell posted the lap that he was 6 thousandths back, and I was in the party with him when he did it. Wasn't too happy about it. When I told, so, I knew he was going to push more. He said he was, when he posted the lap, there was 6 thousandths behind, rather 6 thousandths, that he was like, there's nothing left. Which, I mean, yeah, he only went, what? How much quicker did he go? It was very close, He only went like 3 hundredths quicker than 3 or 4 hundredths quicker than Moon Tower. So I mean, that's like missing a shift, or like letting it bounce off the rev limiter once. So absolutely perfect lap from FMS Senna.
You actually kind of slipped up there. Did you actually tell Senna his time? Did you tell him what the gap was to Moon Tower?
No. No, I did not. I told him it was extremely close.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we do hide the times so that people don't sort of snipe poll. I mean, some of this stuff happens anyway. People will run a time and then they'll kind of bank it and put it in, kind of last minute as their last ditch effort. But yeah, I mean, we've kind of tossed around the idea of doing one of these qualifying for Super GT if everybody's interested. We've talked about doing one where all the times are shown, just one track, see how it goes, and see whether people are upset by, sniping that occurs, or, whether people can just use that and it be a little bit more exciting for the drivers as well to be able to see that, as opposed to right now where it's just a kind of all question marks. But let's shift a little bit and start talking about what happened when we started validating. Derek, you want to comment first on that, and then we can go into some more detail?
We had a lot, well, not a lot. We had a few violations when it came to the last corner of this track here. What we're talking about is, I believe we talked about in the pre-race podcast, was that the final corner here, you could actually dip all four off on the outside rumble strip and still have a clean lap. Now, under Formula Forza rules, we had determined that in order for it to be a clean lap, you could only run two off onto that rumble strip. There's a white line that separates the rumble strip from the track, and you could only have the two left side tires over that. Now, we had a lot of drivers pushing the limit, Brad. Johnny Two Shoes completely blew your mind.
He literally, if he didn't have any camber on the back, if it was just straight, 0% or 0 degree camber, it would have been a dirty lap. But because he had negative camber, it was actually clean.
On other parts of the track, Ferrari Fanatic managed to get himself a one-place grid position, because in turn 3, it does the same thing. You can kind of hop the curb there, and it won't dirty your lap. So he had received some of that. We had some people, Ryan and I each discovered, a couple people we were validating, that did not actually use their top gear. They didn't for GT 300, 5th, for GT 500, 6th. They had to have used that gear at some point during their listed lap.
For 1,000 RPM.
Yes. We had some people that didn't do it. Who was it? Ryan Moontower didn't do it in GT 500.
We'll talk about the big disqualifications here. We had Top Secret and Mr. Dr. Spaceman. And FMS Top Secret was disqualified because he didn't use 6th gear on the final stretch. And I'm sure it was just a slip up, or he forgot or whatever. I don't think that anybody here is trying to cheat the system. I really don't. But yeah, if he didn't use top gear, that's an advantage that he gained there that other people could have used. I don't know that they would have made up the gap that Top Secret had up there, but we got to stick to the rules and make a very clear and unbiased decision on that. The other thing he did that certainly didn't help matters is he ran his lap on the last lap of the replay, and there were no AI in there, so we couldn't actually validate his time. I mean, it looked pretty close. I would believe it if there were no other infractions, but really it was that top gear that we had to disqualify him for. We did make the call that he could start from the back of Group B, be ineligible for passing points, and still earn race points because there were still open slots in Group B. The other one was Mr. Dr. Spaceman, and he didn't use second gear. So he used 3rd, 4th, 5th, and he did manage to use 6th. He just didn't use second gear on the lap he was doing. Now, I looked at the rest of his laps to see whether this was intentional, or was he doing this every lap, or was this just a slip? I mean, it doesn't change the lap submitted. Didn't use second gear, but I was just curious for my own sake. And on every other lap, he had used second gear. So we still have to hold him to it, because that's what the administration is here to do, is to we set the rules, and then we have to enforce the rules so that everybody's playing by the same rules. If we don't ensure that everybody is following the rules to a T, then it'll start to become a free for all with what rules can I bend and what rules can I break and whatnot. kind of the big one that was a gray area for us was the final turn, that runoff there, the rumble strips we were talking about, and it was Moon Tower and Platonic Lotus that really ran all the way off on the lap before their qualifying lap. Now, this does make a difference. If that had happened on the second to last corner before the qualifying lap, I would have said doesn't matter at all, has no impact whatsoever on the qualifying lap. But this is the final turn into what starts your flying lap. So to say that that doesn't have any impact on the qualifying lap and that it that it shouldn't matter is a little bit. It's a little bit trying to dodge it, and he didn't say that. He said whatever you decide, I will accept and follow the rules. I didn't know that's how we were running this. I figured that everybody was doing this, and if I didn't do it, that I would be at a disadvantage. And I said no. Unfortunately, it was just you and Platonic Lotus. Top Secret did it as well. But I have to figure that was teammates talking, and I don't know how isolated they were in doing that. But for that, because it wasn't on his flying lap, I mean, he was a good what would you say, 4/10 ahead of who was right below, or his time is right there, I guess. So he is half a second ahead of next qualifier. I don't think that running wide there got him half a second. But what we had to do is say that there has to be some action for it, so we gave him a 2-place grid penalty. So in the race, then, effectively, he started 6th in GT500. He actually did start 6th in GT500, but because Senna already was starting with an 8-second grid penalty, he then effectively got a 2-second grid delay, or a start delay, I suppose, before he could start. So he didn't actually move back any positions. He just got a delayed start and had to weave his way through the GT300 traffic. Did you guys have anything more on those two, or on the violations?
No. Pretty much you covered everything other than, we had a couple people that, shaved it by the clag in their tires. But yeah, there was some guys, pushing the boundaries this week, which isn't surprising. Ryan, can we move on to the race recap?
Yeah, let's get right into the race then. The race was epic. If you didn't join us for the Twitch live feed, that was a hell of a race to watch. One of the most exciting I've ever seen. As not being in the driver's seat, one of the most exciting races I've watched. I mean, there were a couple in the R1 season that I thought could probably rival that. But wow, I mean, just passing everywhere, action all the way up until the checkered flag. But from the start, it was actually Bloody Kane on pole. FW Mastodon started on the front row with Bloody Kane. And on, what was it, the first restart, it was actually FW Mastodon that was leading the race into, what was that, turn 3 or 4 there?
3.
Yeah. So yeah, it was huge to see that. I mean, he's not really an aggressive driver, and you heard us talk about that in the Twitch cast, the Twitch feed. But yeah, that was great. Unfortunately, that that kind of showed the hand to Bloody Kane as to what kind of maneuver he was going to try there, and for the remainder of the restarts, Bloody Kane just kind of shut the door there on any maneuver that FW Mastodon could try. But that was really good stuff from him. It was first time on the front row for him. In the race for GT300, then it was Alex P starting up front, and what was that, BTR McNish on the front row with him. Yeah, so that was a pretty interesting one, because that Weissman has a pretty good launch on it, and it definitely had a decent run into the first turn. Alex P had no trouble retaining his lead there, and you can see from the pictures we just uploaded to Facebook today, or well, as you're hearing this, it would have been a couple of days ago, but as we record this, it's Tuesday, and the pictures up there, you can see how the beginning of the race went. It was chaotic, but it was awesome. It was just great to watch. It was clean from the start. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but that start and just the first even 5 laps was just so much action. It was tough to keep a close tally on all of it.
I remember you switched to the GT300 race, and I didn't say it, but I was like, don't switch. Oh, this is so good. And then you switched to it, and I was like, meh.
Well, we had to find out where the GT300s were. Anyway, as the race went on, we saw just a runaway from Alex P., which is probably no surprise to anybody that knows who Alex Phillips is. But Alex P. basically just ran a clinic on the GT300s here at Tsukuba, ended up winning the race by, 35 seconds, something like that?
35 seconds.
Yeah, 35 seconds, and then it was... let's take a quick look here. In GT500, it was the story of Moontower and Senna clawing their way back through the field and Subway Cookie trying to steal the lead of the race from Bloody Kane. Now, Bloody Kane ran practically the entire race in the lead and was doing a great job of... I mean, he certainly wasn't swerving or anything. There was no... I didn't think it was dirty in the least. And he was maintaining his lead, and it was the pits that really started shuffling all the order. Subway Cookie got around him when Bloody Kane, or what was it? It was Senna, actually, that got around him when Bloody Kane, what we called a fake out, but later I came to find out that Bloody Kane just had low grip there and tried to carry too much speed, and luckily went outside of the, just kind of missed that pit wall there. And was able to continue his lap, but it effectively was a fake out for Senna and pushed Senna in. But it was on that switch out that Bloody Kane lost the lead. FMS Senna then picked up the lead and couldn't be caught by Moontower and Subway Cookie as the race continued. But in the end, it was all the traffic at the what would you say, the final 10 laps of the race, maybe even the final 7 laps of the race, it was just chaotic because the GT300s were either starting to lap each other or just the battles were that close after, all the pits had worked out that, man, there was just so much traffic. But it wasn't like, 4 wide or 3 wide on the track or anything like that, but it was just really close. And it started impacting the GT500 race, which made things really exciting. You saw Moontower have a couple of bumps with GT300 traffic, and so far I haven't heard any fault being blamed on Moontower or the GT300 traffic in that incident. But that we did have a huge hit with FW Mastodon on GT300 driver BTR McNish. That's Nick Tyner, and man, we're still in review on what exactly happened there. So the points as you see them, which we'll get to in just a minute, are unofficial yet because we're not sure whether there's going to be something given to FW Mastodon for this giant hit down into the final hairpin. But it was just an enormous hit that pretty much ruined BTR McNish's race.
Just to clarify, were there any stewards' inquiries with that?
Johnny Two Shoes has given me some information so far, but I have not heard from BTR McNish as to whether he's pursuing. But we certainly need to investigate what happened at that spot there. Now, if there is no steward's inquiry, there will be no points issued because it has to be pursued. For example, FMS Senna and TLR Eclipse had some contact, and we weren't clear whether it was lag or whether it was just, bad timing or whatever, but TLR Eclipse has since spoken to the administration and has said that he's not pursuing any penalty for that. So, regardless, even if we felt that Senna was at fault, we won't be issuing any penalty because the affected driver is not pursuing it. So, this will really be on Nick Tyner as to whether he wants to call for a penalty on it, and that doesn't mean it's immediately penalty on FW Mastodon. That just means we got to give it a closer look and really give it a thorough evaluation as to what's going to happen there.
Ryan, do you want to continue on that point?
I'll just finish up the final results there. Then in GT300, I said that Alex P just basically ran a clinic. We already know he won the race. Johnny Two Shoes clawed his way back from 7th on the grid to 2nd. That's incredible. That is just astonishing to me. Picks up 5 overtaking points or passing points for that. ZX Squid, it was also a phenomenal drive from him. It was a question of whether Johnny Two Shoes and ZX Squid were going to get around BTR McNish without that hit from FW Mastodon. I mean, there were still 10 laps left, and they were pretty close. I mean, close enough that Johnny Two Shoes saw the incident here. But BTR McNish then, with that damage, falls back to 4th after starting 2nd on the grid. It looked like he might have been able to do it. He had pretty good launch out of there and had pretty good control over his car. He might have been able to hold on to 2nd there. So we're talking a difference of something like 17 points there that he missed out on. In Flames then climbs his way from 8th to 5th. LMR-led Godass then finishes 6th, falling from 3rd. So a little bit of a disappointment there for the Midnight Performance Development team that he didn't hold on to some more of those positions, but still a phenomenal drive from the French driver there. So now we can head into points there, Brad, if you have those ready for us in the GT500 class.
As per usual, I'm going to do the top 5 here for both classes. Still in first is FMS Senna with 371 points. In second is a Subway Cookie with 243 points. Nearly 20 points behind him is XPR Moon Tower. In fourth, just 4 points below 200 points is FMS Top Secret. In fifth is Bloody Kane, 3 points behind FMS Top Secret. Moving on to GT300, in first is In Flames with 278 points. Second is ZX Squid with 214. Third is Johnny Two Shoes with 290. Fourth is Hypnotic Foil with 148. And fifth is BTR McNish with 134. Moving to the team championship for GT300, AF Corse Trecento is in first, 31 points ahead of High Performance Racing. And in third is LCR. Big help from their win there from Alex P. And pole, 20 points gained from them for pole. With the GT500 points for the team championship, Jet Vets is still in first with 481 points, even though they're definitely lacking with their second driver, Chicken McHaggard. In second is Serpent Racing. Third is Bosch Tech Racing. And fourth is Tech Life Racing.
So in the GT300 field there, LCR, you talked about their huge point gain there from this past weekend. Check that out. It's 169 points. I remember we went sort of nuts when Midnight Performance Development went 168 points the previous race at Nürburgring, and you look at it now, 169 points from LCR. That's fantastic. That's the most points that any team has earned in the GT300 Championship in a weekend. So big props to those guys. It does launch them much closer to High Performance Racing now. They're only 3 points behind High Performance Racing. On that note, I think we have to give it up to WRC Cape for assembling the HPR teams. What is High Performance Racing and Scuderia EMR. He has found some really quick guys here in ZX Squid and Hypnotic Foil. Don't you guys think?
Yes, I agree. Ryan, you were there for that conversation where with Cape, where he had actually talked to us and inquired what we thought when it came to him starting his own team. But we said, yeah, you go for it. We're definitely not taking any responsibility for what he's done. I mean, he has definitely stepped up the game and brought these drivers in, and it's quite impressive as to what he's done when he's assembled these teams. He's brought together some very high-caliber drivers, and it's definitely paying off for him.
Keep in mind they're only 30 points back from AF Corse, so in theory, if Alex P keeps not Alex P, I don't know why I thought of that, but if they get a pole in the future, that next race, that puts them 21 points actually behind AF Corse, so they would only need 10 points, 11 points actually to gain back those points.
So there's definitely room for them to make it up.
Math is hard.
Shut up.
All right, Ryan. Looks like we have some news, specifically some driver changes. Do you care to elaborate for the viewers/listeners?
Okay, so what we've got is Austin Lee, who is now, I believe his current gamer tag is XPR Toxic Racing, is going to. He's been wanting to switch classes to GT300, so he's going to be actually joining Python Motorsports, taking the place of XPR Sportsman, who is going to be taking a leave, who has already been taking a leave, it appears, from racing, as he's missed the past 3 races. Now, Python Motorsports hasn't attended a single race yet, so anything they do here is going to be an improvement from what they've got. I mean, nothing against Python Motorsports, but it should be pretty interesting, really, if they get Austin over here and he does well. Now, to fill his spot on the TLR team is going to be David Goss. Now, he was in our R1 2012 season, and he's at least been following us throughout some of our championships. So David Goss is Hey It's David, Dubstep DG. I mean, he's had so many different names that I'm not sure which form we're looking at for joining the TLR team, but know that he is very quick. He was capable of wins in the R1 2012 season, which was very competitive, and I know that he's a top-level driver, and he's only gotten quicker since he was in R1 2012. So it should be interesting to see what happens in the GT500 field with him joining the fray there. And we all know that NSX is quite capable, very capable of a win in GT500, especially with another tight track like Camino, and Senna just racking up the seconds of delayed start there. So the question will become, can TLR actually extract a win out of this whole situation? And I mean, it's kind of a win-win across the board. Python Motorsports picks up a driver that's going to start putting up reliable points for them, and TLR is going to pick up practically a legend name for Formula Forza. He was well known during the R1 2012 season. So what do you guys think about that?
As JET Motorsport owners, scared. Yeah, in one word. As a fan, lots of anticipation. I really want to see how he's going to do. I mean, you say he's gotten quicker, but as an all-rounder, is that in a prototype? If it's in a GT car, well, I guess you could count Super GTs as like a kind of the bridge between prototypes and GTs, kind of like how the Furai Mazda was. But, I mean, I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's going to be a lot of fun to broadcast, but as an owner, definitely sweating a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so do we want to move along then into our videos of the week? I guarantee you guys that as soon as we hear about any more team changes, I know that we do have AVR still running a one-man show right now, and that Team Endless Taizan is kind of out of it for the moment. I don't know if they're coming back or if it's just going to be as they can get time or how that's going to work out. But I promise that as soon as we hear anything on team changes or anything like that, we will let you guys know.
We are bringing back a little segment of the show that Brad and I used to do in the first series of the podcast. It is our videos of the week. If you don't know what this is for you guys that are just joining us, it is Brad and I pick our favorite automobile-related YouTube video of the week and share it with you guys. My video this week came from the Drive Network and specifically the show Big Muscle. Now, it does have to do with muscle cars, which is kind of uncharacteristic of me. I'm not really a fan of American Muscle, but I picked it because the car in this video is absolutely beautiful. It is a 1959 Pontiac Bonneville 4-fin, and it's Lamborghini orange. I want to put that image in your head.
Yummy.
It's amazing. Words cannot... Yes. Yeah. Words cannot put into... I can't put into words what this car makes me feel deep down inside. But Brad, what was your video?
My video actually is from Vossen Wheels, a well-known, I'd say, company, wheel company in the slamming industry for their
stance
slamming, same sort of thing, for their ridiculously sized wheels with ridiculous offset and concave. And today, or actually August 9th, they uploaded, they actually picked up the first, in 2014, Infiniti Q50S from Infiniti, the first one that's ever been quote-unquote delivered, even though they went to the Infiniti dealership and picked up. Immediately put a pair of Vosses on it and bagged it. So then it looks very nice, very, very nice right off the bat, and it's a good enjoy. If you like watching videos of cars just like driving around very slowly and looking good, I suggest watching good. Yes, very good. Good.
All right. Switching gears here to the serious side of the podcast. Ryan, do you care to start us off with your Camino predictions?
Well, this is going to be a very interesting race because this is the track that has the least amount of testing being done on it. So our times are very rough as far as what our predicted times are going to be, and really it's going to be just kind of us watching it during qualifying to know where the drivers are. I know the GT300s, we're looking... I believe we're looking at pole somewhere in the 108, maybe even a high 107 range. But like I said, very rough numbers here. Not very many GT500 drivers have reported their times yet, but not too many straights. So, I don't know whether, is this going to be another Tsukuba where it's tough for these cars to really get up to their top speed. Now, there is that long sort of downhill part where the cars can really start to pick up speed, and then there's the uphill after the hairpin at the bottom that might help us on passing here. But other than that, it's pretty tight and tough traction here, all the way around. Even at that hairpin at the bottom, very tough traction. So I'm not really sure. I think we're gonna be right in the mid 50s, maybe even high 50s for the GT500 cars. But really, this is a total guess on my part here.
I'm going to say closer to higher 50s, like 58s.
Thanks for waiting for your turn.
We have turn.
Okay, so Derek, what do you think? What do you got?
Pretty much qualifying-wise, I'll admit it, I only pretty much pay attention to GT500 because as an owner, that's what I'm paying attention to. I would say they might stretch it into the 56s. The Hondas might. Senna might be able to do it. But bulk of the field is going to be 58s to the 1 minute mark. Lobby 8 definitely will be around 58s to, probably low 59s. But definitely you're going to have to watch out for the Hondas this week because this track, even for a video game, it's not scrubbed in very well. There's not very many grippy portions of the track. You slide around a lot here. And the Hondas have all that high downforce compared to everybody else, and you're definitely going to see them have an advantage again like they did last week. So, that's all I got to say for GT500. GT300, I'm really kind of clueless. So, yeah.
Well, then we just helped each other out because I'm a little bit more knowledgeable on the GT300 side where, like I said, I think it's going to be 108s, maybe even high 107s. I know in testing we were right around the 109 mark with a variety of drivers and a variety of cars. So I think that's going to be pretty good. All right, so the track itself then is going to be 40 laps of Camino Viejo full, not the extreme or mini or short or anything like that. So this should be pretty interesting because we've got some walls that can really cause damage here that get very close to the track, especially after the uphill section of the track. There's a part where you just graze the wall practically. And one thing we're going to have to look at here is whether the white lines... you got to stay between those white lines. There is a section here where you can go off and cut the track. And even the game gives you a sort of a guided line that cuts the track. I don't get it. I don't understand why they would do that. But white lines still again for this track. Otherwise, there's some pretty dodgy stuff that people can get away with. You guys have anything more on Camino as far as a track or qualifying that we're going to see?
The middle of the second sector, the beginning of the first sector, and most of the third sector are very tight portions of the
so
track.
The whole track?
No. There are certain sections of the track that are extremely tight, as usual, as per most racetracks. But the way Senna and Moon Tower are running, we're definitely going to have to watch out for traffic again. The GT300 field is definitely not in the clear when it comes to having a lot of space to let the GT500s by, so they're definitely going to have to watch it this week and make sure we don't have any incidents.
I'm going to have to say that this track is harder to pass at than Tsukuba. It's definitely a lot more tighter more of the time. So
we could see some legitimate retirements here because of the walls. I don't think because of passing, or maybe passing will force the issue, but I think it's these concrete walls that they don't give at all. I don't know if not that the other walls give a whole lot, but if you wreck into the boxes...
Not that concrete gives.
No, I just mean like at Tsukuba. If you wreck into the boxes, you kind of reflect off, it doesn't just like stop your car. Versus here at Camino, if you hit the wall, you're going to get big damage real quick because, it doesn't reflect your car like the walls of Tsukuba do, and there's no runoff, really. There are in a couple of spots where you run off, but that's not the danger area. That's not where you're shaving all of your time. There's like that little chicane there on the way down the hill where the GT500s will be hitting close to their top speeds. That will be a little hairy. And then there's the little right-hander before you go left-hander into the third sector that is going to be a little dodgy there as well. Could be game over for a couple of people if they hit that during the race. Pull a Senna into the pit wall or something like that.
I think the first lap here is going to be really sketchy. Even like
sketchy is a technical term.
As a technical term, all right, sketchy. The GT500 cars starting behind the GT300 cars kind of scare me a bit here because they're going to get up to speed. Like, I know, a 2-second delay or whatever here. It's nothing because, you start off on a straightaway and then a right-hander and then a GT500 is basically get up to the top speed. Tons of GT300 cars in front of you. Nowhere really to pass, guaranteeing you're not going to hit anybody.
So it's kind of like the Nürburgring.
Yes, kind of like the Nürburgring.
I totally agree on the dimensions of the track. It does feel a little bit like Nürburgring, but that would be like saying that it's impossible to pass at the Nürburgring. You just got to wait for the right moment. You can't do it in those really tight turns where you're single file through there. There is one racing line versus there are wide sections of this, especially down into at the bottom of the hill. There's about 3 different ways to take that hairpin where you pretty much got about the same speed going out of it. Now, the interesting thing will be in GT500, this will be something that will really take some bold some courage or whatever about when they can get back on the throttle after that right-hander into turn 1. You guys know what I'm talking about? Whoever can get on the throttle there and not fly off the track, that's who's going to get the quickest time here, because that is so critical to the lap time because it sets up one of the longest straights there. And then the same thing when you...
Do you get wheel spin coming out of there?
No, but you go wide. I'm not saying who gets traction. I'm saying
momentum carries you wide. So when you're just you got to be careful getting on the gas.
But at the bottom, it's the other way, right? When you're at the bottom of the hill and you're starting to come back up the hill after you go down and there's like that big vista there. It's after that you're traction limited. So it's going to be who can get back on the traction smoothest to go back up the hill, and there's a straightaway there. So if you can keep the momentum at both of those points, that kind of teaches you 2 different things. But if you can do that's going to be the secret to the really fast lap here. Predictions on who's going to do it. Who do you think for GT500? Who's your top 3?
Top 3 in no particular order. Senna, Moon Tower, and Top Secret.
I'm going to throw...
Same.
I'm going to throw David Goss in there. Let's assume he gets in before this next race. I will say Senna is going to be right there, but I think it's going to be maybe Moon Tower. I think Moon Tower is kind of coming into stride here. We know he's a really strong driver, and he's it seems like he's evolved just since Super GT started, because we all know that FMS Top Secret is a really strong driver. But just look at this last race. XPR Moontower actually out-qualified him on a tight track like this. So could it be that Moontower, does it again and out-qualifies FMS Top Secret? Now, the other thing to consider here is that the NSX doesn't have the best top speed, so the GTR R35s will have a little bit of an advantage here, and the Supra might actually be the best blend, but can Subway's sort of been qualifying in the fourth or fifth arena, and with David Goss coming in, I don't know, does that push him down, or does David Goss take a while to get into the groove of these traction limited cars? I really don't. I can't say for certain, but that's my pick: Senna, David Goss, and Moontower. And that's no slight against Subway and Top Secret. It's just that's my pick.
What kind of delay penalty does Moontower have?
Let's see here. That is a good question. Moontower had a 5-place grid penalty. Is that right? Hang on one second. You're making me look stuff up on the fly here. Moontower got third, so he's going to get an additional 3 places on whatever it was that he had. So I have to go look that up. So he'll have 3 places more for finishing third at Tsukuba. But the big one is Senna. He had 8 seconds, still won the race, so now we're talking about a minimum 7 more seconds. So, 15 seconds roll-off delay for FMS Senna. That's going to be insane. You guys think he can do it here at Camino? Or you think we're going to see our first new win?
Against him. They are definitely stacked against him. From what I've heard, from what he's told Brad and I, he's definitely pushing his hardest this week. He's definitely going to give it his all. But that gap, the starting, that's definitely pushing the limits.
I think the important thing for him to do is to actually get pole so he minimizes the roll-off time that he has.
Absolutely. I mean, when we say 15 seconds, that's the best case scenario. I mean, it could be much worse. Okay, so in the race,
so he really needs to get pole here.
Grid position, especially with this method as opposed to power restrictions, grid position is everything. You need that grid position so that you're not getting just, immediately set behind. I mean, look at Bloody Kane. Had the pit strategy not worked out the way that it did, and Senna just, flew past everybody in the pits, I think he might have won that race. I mean, who knows? I mean, you look at Senna. Senna was only 2 seconds ahead of Subway Cookie, but Subway Cookie was not able to pass Bloody Kane for the majority of the race, and then Senna only passed Bloody Kane because of the pit strategy. So would Senna have been able to pass him? Possibly, but Bloody Kane would have been second then. So the question here is, now with even more grid penalty, can Senna come back? And Bloody Kane's still unrestricted, so he's now still going to be the favored one to win this. You look at the usual suspects here. Subway Cookie picks up even more grid penalty. Moontower picks up more. Bloody Kane still finishes fourth. I mean, if ever there was it's like doubling down here. Bloody Kane has got to win one of these races because he's the only guy out that that is constantly in our top picks that hasn't picked up restriction. The other side of that coin is Top Secret. Top Secret now, because he was in Group B, is going to lose the grid. He's going to lose 3 places off of his grid penalty that he had, and he could be the favored for a win. But what's you guys' prediction for GT500 for the win?
Don't make me do this. I mean, anything can happen, honestly. There's really no way to tell. I mean, you could kind of throw stones at it, say, maybe one of the, I'm going to say probably, if Senna doesn't do it, one of the Hondas. I'm going to go with any of the Hondas, because they might be able to do it. I mean, I'm going to go with the Hondas and or Senna.
What do you think, Brad?
I think, being that Bloody Kane sets himself up to start in the front grid position, or start in first, I think he'll get the win. If he can accomplish that, I think he can win.
I couldn't agree more. I really do think that this might be Bloody Kane's week to win. There's grip issues all over this track, and that Lexus can do it. It doesn't really excel at acceleration or excel at top speed. I mean, those trophies are taken by different cars, but it's kind of a well-rounded car where it's at, but maybe a little bit weaker than the Supra. But Bloody Kane is sort of driving the wheels off of that Lexus. Now, with Rock Lewis in there as well, we may see, as he gets used to that car, we may see him qualify even higher, maybe back up into a Group A regular.
Another thing we haven't talked about is pit exit here.
Well, tell me all about pit exit. What I know about it is that it sort of ejects you right onto the right side of the track, but the racing line is left, isn't it?
Well, it ejects you, I'm pretty sure it ejects you right before the corner as they're cutting down to the inside. I'm not sure. I'd have to go look, but I think there might be problems there.
There could be. I do believe it definitely ejects you out on the right side there, but or left side, no.
It's the right side.
Yeah. It ejects you off the racing line, but it's definitely a section where if guys are battling, you're definitely going to need to watch out because it's still tight right there. And where you come out that line, that's still going to be a too wide battling into a corner line. So the drivers are definitely going to have to pay attention when they're exiting the pits this week.
Okay, you asked me about Moon Tower and places. He had 5-place grid penalty going into this past weekend. With his third place, he'll then be up to 8 places grid penalty. Subway Cookie was at 2. Because of his second place, he'll get 5 more, so he'll be at 7 actually. And like we said, FMS Senna picks up an additional 7, so that puts him at a sort of ludicrous 15-second delay. That's just crazy to me.
Is that it for our predictions? Does that conclude?
It might, but the other thing that I'm going to say is that this Friday, Scolzy/46 is going to run an open practice. If anybody's interested, he's going to run that sort of on British Standard Time, so you'll have to convene with him. There is an event on the Formula Forza page that's facebook.com/Formula Forza, and you'll see the event there for the open practice. So join that if you want to hone your skills on Camino here. He's going to run multiple 15-lap races there. The first couple will be just for pace, and then he'll run a couple that are race conditioned with 1 mandatory pit stop. So should be good stuff if you want to do that. Also, remember to follow us on Twitter. That's at Formula Forza. Do you guys have any final thoughts about the race at Camino before we sign off?
Not really.
I'm good.
Yeah, pretty content.
Profound. All right, guys. Well, then, thanks for listening.
That's why we're here.
Thanks for listening, guys. And remember, follow us on Twitter, like I mentioned. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/Formula Forza admin. And you can always head over to our Twitch feed to see some of these races before they go up on YouTube. That's twitch.com/Formula Forza. Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.
Adios.
Because
we're in Spain.
How's it going, ladies? Welcome to Formula Forza After Dark. We will fill all your needs to make sure that you are properly entertained. It's the Formula Forza Podcast After Dark.